most exciting players in the SEC for 2025? I don't think that there's a wrong answer. There's a ton of names that fit this criteria, but at the end of the day, I feel like that these 10 stand a cut above the rest. So let's break it all down. Welcome on into SEC Unfiltered. It's Cole Thompson here. Make sure that you like the video, hit the ring notification, and of course, subscribe to the channel because we talk college football daily. Download the podcast version of the show. Follow us on all the socials, link in the description. Follow me at Mr. Cole Thompson, and check out all of our great work found at SECUnfiltered.com. This episode is fueled by Fanduel. Visit fanduel.com/SECU to join today and get started with $200 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. So you lay down $5, you win that bet, you're going to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. What's not to love? Go join in on the fun at fanduel.com/SECU to get $200 in bonus bets with your first $5 bet. So 2025 is around the corner. There are household names that are going to win accolades, awards, be All-Americans, compete for the Heisman Trophy, definitely be in the running for the Biletnikoff, every single thing that you can see fit. And I feel like that these 10 names stand above the rest. So without further ado, let's go into it quickly. Our honorable mentions. As always, if you don't like this list, it's my list and my criteria. Go drop your list in the comment section down below. Honorable mentions: Tennessee quarterback Nico Iamaleava, Texas linebacker Anthony Hill, Texas A&M wide receiver Casey Concepcion, Florida wide receiver Trey Wilson, Missouri running back Ahmad Hardy, Tennessee wide receiver Mike Matthews, LSU linebackers Whit Weeks and Harold Perkins, Ole Miss quarterback Austin Simmons, Texas A&M defensive lineman Cassius Howell, Alabama defensive lineman LT Overton, and Mississippi State running back Fluff Bothwell. Now, into my top 10. Number 10, Diego Pavia, the sequel in Nashville. What sequel are we going to get? The Empire Strikes Back or The Mask 2? Empire Strikes Back is one of the greatest movies ever made that you sometimes forget it even is a sequel in the Star Wars chapter. Is that what we can expect from a guy like Diego Pavia? Comes back in for another year, gets the NCAA eligibility waiver to say, we want to see more of you. We want to see Baba Yaga take over First Bank Stadium, and we want to watch him take the Commodores to a college football playoff push. And very well he can, over 3,000 yards last season. He also has a great relationship with Eli Stowers at tight end, a great understanding of what the offense is going to be underneath Tim Beck. It could be even better than what we saw in 2023, and this could be a Commodores team that comes out of the blue and punches their ticket to Atlanta. Maybe the college football playoff. Maybe goes on an epic run and defies all expectations that we ever imagined for that program. Or is it going to be The Mask 2? One of the single worst sequels that has ever come out in the history. Everything regresses. We have no idea why that was even greenlit. And then we're wondering to ourselves, was Diego Pavia just a flash in the pan? Was it always just a one-year wonder? How was he ever going to meet those expectations again? It's a big fear. It is for me. Now, I believe that number 2 is going to be one of the best quarterbacks in college football this season. And I do believe he is going to be a reason why we will see Vanderbilt back in a bowl game. But it's the sequel. Sometimes nobody asks for them. Sometimes they live up to expectations. Will that be Diego Pavia next fall? But he comes in at number 10. Number 9, newcomer from Washington State, Oklahoma quarterback John Mateer. He's the new kid in school, but he already has a reputation. This is the type of guy that you don't want to mess with until it's too late. There's so much moxie and character and swagger about his demeanor. Comes on in after a breakout season in Pullman. Earns his way into the SEC. Wanted by Miami. Wanted by North Carolina. But then you remember, he played a G5 schedule. Well, let's see what he's got to himself now playing in big boy country. And then you remember, he's a baller no matter what. 45 touchdowns last season. Nearly 4,000 total yards of scrimmage. 3,300 passing yards. The most returning touchdowns by a quarterback in 2024. That's coming to Norman. And he already has a great relationship with Ben Arbuckle, the new offensive coordinator. This is exactly what you want to see if you are in Norman. If you're going into Memorial Stadium next year and you're trying to believe that Brett Venables is the right guy, you got to have stability at the quarterback. You got to have stability at the offensive coordinator position. And this is probably the closest that we have seen since the A's dominance underneath Lincoln Riley, when he had a certain brand of quarterback with that mentality and that spaz and that extra to be able to put yourself over the top. That's how John Mateer carries himself. This is a guy that's probably going to be worth 2 or 3 wins for a program. Best of all, it's going to be a guy that now has a full understanding about what needs to be run out in Oklahoma. And I'm not saying that the Sooners are going to captivate everybody and go on the run like Texas did this past year, punch their ticket to the college football playoff and go to the semifinals. But this is the type of quarterback that you need. He fits the mold. He fits the criteria. Best of all, I think he can be a 3-way player. Bad offensive line play, you can trust his legs to run. Over 800 rushing yards last season. good overall wide receiver play. He can uncork one down the field, good up tempo to be able to maneuver behind the line of scrimmage to create second chance opportunities. I think John Mateer is in for a breakout season out in 2025. Don't look now, but he may end up being the best of this group when all is said and done. But he comes in at number 9. Number 8, Cam Coleman. Cam Coleman got it easy last year. Had a couple of big-time games, had some performances that we can remember, but Keandre Lambert-Smith was really the storyline, the number 1 receiver. Cam, get comfortable out in the Plains. Get comfortable in Hugh Freeze's system. We like you as our future number 1. Well, the future's arrived. How do you turn to this? How do you get better? Because many people believe that you're right up there along with Ryan Williams, with Jeremiah Smith. You're one of the most talented playmakers in college football, and you showed it last year. The Texas A&M game. I think if you are anybody out in Auburn trying to figure out what is going to be the future of this kid, I promise you go back and look at that A&M game, that's the version that you can expect. Closed out the year with a pair of 100-yard performances in November, 6 touchdowns over his final 3 starts as a true freshman. He was starting to figure things out. This is your centerpiece. Brand new quarterback in Jackson Arnold coming on in, or Deuce Knight, or maybe it's Ashton Daniels. But it's another year of knowing the system. It's another year of understanding what Hugh Freeze wants and what you can and cannot do. But you also are going to be the alpha. Everyone envisioned you to be the difference maker from year 1. Now it arrives to go into year 2. How do you take Auburn to that next level? How does this passing attack continue to improve? How do you survive and stabilize a unit that many people have questions on going into this year? Because I believe that Cam Coleman can absolutely be the number 1 wide receiver in the SEC. He may well be the number 1 wide receiver in America. And I do believe he will be the reason why, for the first time since Y2K, Auburn can say we have a 1K pass catcher in our presence. I believe that. How do you make sure that that happens? A good fall camp, a good spring training, making yourself available and adaptable to what needs to work with Jackson Arnold, second to none. I cannot wait to see what number 8 does next season out on the Plains. But he comes in for me at number 8. Number 7, Dylan Stewart. I really want to put him one spot higher because I don't think there's that much of a separation between number 7 and number 5. But I want to put a quarterback in between, much like we talked about with Cam Coleman. Had a blessing in disguise with Kyle Kennard on the opposing side. Kennard took away a lot of the pressure. Let a guy like Dylan Stewart get comfortable in the system. And when he was on fire. Machine gun killer, you can go ahead and call him. Finished the year off with 10.5 tackles for losses, 6.5 sacks, was one of the best freshman pass rushers, number 2 in the country when it came to forced fumbles among freshmen, number 2 in the country when it came to quarterback pressures, number 3 in the country among freshmen in quarterback hits. And he's only going to get better. It's another season in Clayton White's system. It's another year to kind of adapt and grow and prove where you can improve on. It's another area where you get a full spring to be able to say, this is what needs to change about my game. This is what I really like about my game. This is probably the most impactful freshman we have seen come to Columbia, South Carolina since the days of Jadeveon Clowney. And he may be as good, if not better than Jadeveon Clowney by the time that he's done. You tell me by the end of the year, he's fighting for All-American status, the Benardrick Award, certainly going to be one I consider the favorite to be the SEC Defensive Player of the Year. I'm not going to stop you. Now you got to take that next step forward, not just only in terms of leadership, but also in terms of the physical presence. But I look at what a guy like Dylan Stewart brings to my team and knowing that he has untapped potential that has yet to be reached. And it's only going to continue to grow. I'm not sleeping well at night if I'm an offense coordinator. I know for a fact that I got to contain number 6 if I want to have a shot at winning this football game. And he comes in for me at number 7. But at number 6 is Garrett Nussmeier. Nussbus, down at LSU. Because when I look at Garrett Nussmeier, there's so many people that are going to say, this kid is overrated. Well, it depends on how you rate him. I said that last year he had a very solid season because there were multiple moments when I look back, looked like the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft. Looked like a Heisman Trophy contender, looked like the potential All-American, looked like a dude that can win every single game and take his team to the college football playoff. And then I also see him where you wonder, oh, this is why he could have beat out Jaden Daniels, even though nobody was. You also have to remember he is the only returning passer in college football next year who completed over 4,000 passing yards. It's impressive when you break down what he did because of LSU was a very flawed team in 2024. Very flawed. They couldn't run the football. They were basically a 70-30 pass-to-run offense because they had to be. Because Garrett Nussmeier had to be able to deliver. And then you talk about the turnovers. He was averaging 38 pass attempts per game. That's going to lead for you to have some opportunities to where you're going to fumble the bag, where you're going to screw up, where it's going to be put under the microscope and people are going to judge you more because of you are now making those reads all the time. Can LSU build around him? Can you have a stable run game this year? Can you have better weaponry? Can you have wide receivers not drop the ball? And you've upgraded in all those facilities. I like the offensive line. I like what you have with Joe Sloan coming back as your offensive coordinator. Caden Duran's going to have a bigger role. The wide receiver room should be better with Nick Anderson and Barry and Brown. You still have Chris Hilton. You still have Xavier Thomas. You still have Aaron Anderson. You bring in Bauer Sharp. It's a good unit. But Garrett Nussmeier can't do this alone. You got to add that secondary punch out in Baton Rouge. But if you have it, don't look now, but LSU's built to win. And I mean win a lot. Not just 10 games, not just an SEC championship, but potentially even a national title. And when we talk about the Nuss Bus and what he did during his time in Baton Rouge, he might once again be joining Joe Burrow and Jaden Daniels and countless others who have actually met and defied the expectations. And maybe he'll be winning a piece of hardware in the process, but I have him at number 6. Super Bowl 59, 1 game, 2 teams, endless possibilities. And there's no better way to make every play more exciting than with Fanduel Sportsbook. Whether you're predicting the first touchdown, who will take home the MVP trophy, or the coin toss, Fanduel makes it easy to place your bets and feel the thrill of every moment. With live betting all game long, you can jump into the action, adjust your bets, and ride the wave of excitement from kickoff to the final whistle. Plus, to make the Super Bowl even sweeter, new customers can score $200 when you make your first bet. Just place a $5 bet, and if you win, you get $200 in bonus bets. Download the app or head on over to fanduel.com/SECU and bet with Fanduel, official partner of Super Bowl 59. Disclaimer, must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus in DC. First online real money wager only, $5 first deposit required. Bonus issue with non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expires 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE NY in New York. Okay, back to the show. Number 5, Collin Simmons coming on in from the University of Texas. One of the best pass rushers in a situational role last year. He's only going to get better because if he has to improve his numbers. Last season, number 3 in the SEC when it came to total sacks. Number 3 in the SEC when it came to tackles for losses. Number 4 in the SEC when it came to quarterback hits and pressures. He's now the guy. You realize what you're losing in the front 7 once again. Vernon Broughton's gone. Alfred Collins is gone. You still have some good role players. Mookie Taft is back. You're still going to have a guy in Anthony Hill as your middle linebacker. You're still going to have Trey Moore coming off the edge. But now he's no longer a situational pass rusher. This is a dude that you expect to deliver week in and week out. And if he does, well, Texas is once again going to have one of the best defenses in college football. Do yourself a favor. What do you have more faith in? Texas taking a step back defensively or Texas taking a step forward offensively? I have a lot more faith in Texas taking a step forward offensively because the defense isn't going to miss a beat. And if I get Collin Simmons, the one that was a 5-star at Duncanville, dunking on grown men at 17 years old, getting better in the SEC with a manageable schedule, it's a very hard sell to think that he is not going to be one of, if not the premier pass rusher in college football. He's got the build, he's got the frame, he's got the speed, the finesse, the physicality, and the hands to win against all-American tackles. He will be everything as advertised down on the 40 acres. And he's just getting warmed up as an actual pass rusher. But I got him at number 5. Number 4 is Ryan Williams. Death, taxes, wide receivers working in Kalen DeBoer's system. Now, I know what a lot of you are going to say. Cole, how can you have a wide receiver that didn't put up 1,000 last year inside your top 4? Okay, I completely understand where you come from, but let me humor you. Do you think that that was actually Kalen DeBoer's offense? Nowhere near it. No, if you look back at what Jalen Milroe ran, they ran a dumbed-down version that was going to work for what they had at their disposal. That was not going to work for what Kalen DeBoer actually wants to do. Now it will. Keelan Russell. Maybe it's going to be Ty Simpson. Maybe Austin Mack. One of the 3 is going to win the starting job, but they're a type of quarterback that actually makes Kalen DeBoer's system flourish. And a guy like Ryan Williams, who had over 800 receiving yards last year, single-handedly won the Georgia game, is a type of wide receiver that can take his levels to the next stage. and be a Biletnikoff finalist, be an All-American, be a runner for the Heisman Trophy. Nobody should doubt that. He has every skill set. And by the way, at 17, yes, he was 17 years old. He hasn't even grown into his body. What if he gains 15 pounds of muscle this offseason and doesn't lose that speed? What if he continues to enhance as a route runner and builds a rapport with Keelan Russell that is second to none in college football? Is that not a terrifying thought for anybody that comes into Bryant-Denny Stadium next season, or anybody that has to face off against the Crimson Tide in their backyard? Ryan Williams was almost unguardable at times as a freshman, and he is still developing into his body and his frame. He may end up being one of, if not the greatest playmaker to come through Tuscaloosa when all is said and done, because the skill is there. And now we get to see him actually work in what is going to be a Kalen DeBoer system, similar to Roma Dunze, similar to Jalen McMillan, Jalen Polk, all guys who eventually became fixtures in the NFL and were big-time reasons why Washington went to a national championship. Ryan Williams is that foundational piece. And then you throw in Isaiah Horton and Jeremy Bernard. It's a very hard sell not to think that Alabama has a core as long as they have the quarterback to take them to that next stage. But I got him at number 4. Number 3, it's the king himself. It's Arch Manning down in Austin. It's year 3. Listen, we've seen previews. The way that I view Arch is that we have seen a glimpse of what it can be. It's like going on like that blind date and your friend sets you up on it. Oh, she's really pretty. Oh, she has a personality. She's going to laugh at your jokes. And you're like, why are you overselling me on this? Just let me meet them. And then either they are exactly what you imagined as an individual or they fail to meet your expectations. What is Arch? It's year 3. He understands what AJ Milwee wants. He gets what a guy like Steve Sarkisian wants. He's been able to build a rapport in the offense with the personnel that he's at. He knows what to work with in a Ryan Wingo or a tight end or what you got in the backfield. He's got some mobility to his game. And he comes from a football background where he also understands what elite traits it takes to be a quarterback and the leadership mentality it takes to be the guy under center. And I mean the guy that people resolve around, the people that want to go to war with you. He has all of those things and those intangibles. Now, when he was a freshman last year, or a redshirt freshman, he had some mistakes. He made some mistakes, long of them along the way. Now, how does he fix them? How does he make sure that some of the throws that he was making against Mississippi State don't come back to bite him in the keister? How does he put himself in a prime position to build that rapport with a DeAndre Moore or a Ryan Wingo to where now we're getting 20 yards and a touchdown versus instead a 15-yard game because it was an underthrown ball? Those are the little details that I'm looking for with Arch Manning. But if he hits, he builds off of that, what are we talking about? Guy understands the offensive personnel, 4,000 yards year 1, trip to the Atlanta, college football playoff, semifinals, national championship. It can all happen. It's all on display for Arch Manning. He's got to be one of the most exciting players because we've been hearing about it for so long. Now we get to put pen to paper or really eyes to football. He's number 3. Number 2, very similar process. It comes with me and DJ Lagway. Lagway was the trailer for last year. We got a taste of DJ Lagway out in Gainesville. One of the most sought-after quarterback prospects of 2024. Everyone knew what he could be coming out of Willis, Texas. And he goes to Florida. And he has his moments. And there's a lot of positive ones. Florida, by the season's end, wasn't a hot team, but you could see the vision underneath Billy Napier. Signature wins against LSU and Ole Miss to close out the 2024 campaign. Getting a win in a bowl game, the Gasparilla over Tulane, a Tulane team that played for a conference championship. They had the mojo. And they had it because they knew what their quarterback was. They knew who their quarterback was. And now everyone's buying into what he can be moving forward. Now, here's the question. What more do you want to see? Because he's only smelled the SEC. It's like sitting outside the restaurant. You can smell the fumes coming on in, and you get really excited and intoxicated on what could be. But now you got to take over the kitchen. Now you got to be the head chef. I'm going to say give him a little bit of time, Florida fans. I believe that he will eventually live up to all the accolades that you imagine. But it's a really hard schedule. Florida begins the year off with multiple games against opponents to where it may not end with a win. He may play well, but it may not end in the way that you see. So it may take a little bit longer than just the first week for him to get things figured out. But it could happen naturally. He could immediately wake on up and say, hey, I'm the closest thing you have seen since probably Tim Tebow down here. I'm going to go ahead and guide us to a 7-0 start. We're already going bowling before we even face off against Georgia in the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. By the way, let's go ahead and turn the tides and make this a fair battle. That could be Lagway. Heisman Trophy winner, not off the table. David O'Brien Award winner, definitely not off the table. This could be a dark horse team that makes a run for the college football playoff. But we got to be patient, got to give it our time, let things unravel naturally. But there's a lot to like about it, DJ Lagway, a lot to like about what he brings going into a system that best suits him and a cast of weapons that are going to be better suited because of he is their quarterback. So I got him at number 2. And then we throw in number 1. And for those of you that know me and those of you who have followed along, it's probably very easy for you to understand why. LaNorris Sellers from South Carolina. I don't believe that LaNorris Sellers is the most perfect quarterback in the SEC. I don't. I don't think he's QB1 in the SEC. If you're asking me based off of potential, what I saw from last season, if you said the best player who grew from week 1 to week 13, there was only one answer, and it was 16 with the rec specs. That was the guy. Because every single time that you saw him, he started to get more comfortable. He started to feel himself. He started to realize if I play with confidence, the team will play with me. And they started winning. And 1 win turned into 3, and 3 turned into 6. And then they were the hottest team in the SEC, and one of the very few that people didn't want to admit out loud, but they knew it would be a challenge as they went to the college football playoff. Finished with over 3,000 yards, over 25 touchdowns on the year, a massive game against Missouri and a massive game against Clemson in the Palmetto Bowl to close out 2024. He's got the momentum. I know people are comparing him to Cam Newton. It's a joke that we're even having that conversation. It is. But there's a reason why we are at least having that conversation. Because Cam made plays that you just thought were unheralded. The way he was able to have the pass rush come at him, he was behind the line of scrimmage, he would boot, scoot, and boogie like Books and Dunn, he would capitalize, he would make a defender miss in the open field, and there was in the end zone for 6 points. Very few players in college football who are built at 6'3" and 233 pounds can move like that. Very few players can have that speed, that vision, that footwork, and be so mature in the pocket to make the right call 90% of the time, the way that LaNorris Sellers did last year. And then you throw in another season with Mike Shula now as his offense coordinator, a perfect fit for what he does best. Then you throw in a more reserved and a more enhanced overall personnel group around him. And then you throw in, it's Shane Beamer defying odds every single offseason. Add it all together, that is a recipe for excitement. You tell me that LaNorris Sellers is going to New York City and hoisting up a trophy and representing Willie B on the biggest stage, it's not going to shock me. It's not going to shock me if you tell me that South Carolina is one of those teams that we see end up making it to the national championship because they have the QB. It's also not going to shock me if we see regression and a sophomore slump happen. But based off of what I saw to close out 2024, based off what I saw moving forward, the best is still ahead. The fact that I know that he is an alien that still has so much room to grow with over 3,000 yards on his name, still has the capability of getting better as a passer, getting better as a runner, getting better as an overall playmaker. And I got him for another 2 years if I want him, if not longer. How does that not excite you? Every single one of these players has a case to be number 1. But when I look at what LaNorris Sellers did and what he still is capable of doing, that is clear-cut the right answer. But let me know in the comment section down below. Who are your top 10 most exciting players going into 2025? To recap, number 1, LaNorris Sellers. Number 2, DJ Lagway. Number 3, Arch Manning. Number 4, Ryan Williams. Number 5, Collin Simmons. Number 6, Garrett Nussmeier. Number 7, Dylan Stewart. Number 8, Cam Coleman. Number 9, John Mateer. And number 10, Diego Pavia. Make sure that you like, rate, review, hit subscribe. Follow us on the social channels, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at SEC Unfiltered. Follow me at Mr. Cole Thompson and check out all of our great work found at SECUnfiltered.com. Until next time, folks, I am Cole Thompson. Just remember, the college football season might be over, but talking about exciting players makes us excited for 2025. Peace.